Hey everybody, looks like we made it to yet another Wednesday. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining me. We have Willie and Steven. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming by and spending your Wednesday evening with me. This is really quite an interesting week we had. So this is just so much fun to just talk about art and hang out and just, you know, play with the airbrushes and the inks and just have a very good time. So are you guys able to hear me okay? So let's see. I'm just gonna very quickly go into my videos here and see if it shows up. It always takes a few minutes to show up. It's always pretty weird. I don't know why it does that. But if I go out and then go back in. So how's everything over there? Hey, what's up? How you doing, Emil? So, okay, so Stephen can hear me. That's good. Thank you very much. That's always important when I definitely know that you guys are hearing me and that the quality and everything is really good. So now we have 3 people watching. And the picture looks pretty good. I kind of like it. I see it here on my computer here and on my TV, so I'm happy. So, all right, great. So we got 4 people here tonight. So let's just jump right into this. So what we're going to do right now is I want to establish some of the darks, right? That's what we have to do. We have to establish some of the darks and sort of also make sure that we don't kill some of these light areas. I wouldn't want to go ahead and do those light areas by erasing. I'd rather have an inherent color or inherent value and then darken it as always, right guys? It's always easier to darken than it is to lighten. So we always want to go from light to dark and take our sweet time. That's very, very important. So, of course, I'm going to put on my gloves here. Do you guys have these gloves? Do you guys have a set of these gloves? I really recommend it. Hey, David, good to see you. How's it going? And Tone, so glad we have our regulars, and that's really good. And Steven's here, so I'm excited, Steven. I love your work. Steven does these incredible miniature paintings. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they just kick butt. They're so good. John, how's it going? So great. So that's really fantastic. So Tone has these. I really think they save it because I might. Hey, Wendy, how are you? I think, yeah, Steven's work is unbelievable. Wow. If you haven't got a chance to check out Steven's work, unbelievable stuff. He was doing this water yesterday, which was just unbelievable. I just seen how amazing it was. It's just what he's doing, and he does a small version of it, which is really quite fascinating, So really great stuff. So are you guys seeing me right now? Are we still? So David's working hard, so I'm glad to see that. Okay, so we're still live, which is very good. Of course, I dropped my controller and it broke in a million pieces, but that's okay. We can put it back together. Yes, such a good crowd. David's here. Wendy, Tone, you guys are, I'm really very touched that you're spending your time with me. You guys have some coffee and stuff like that. You all set for 2 hours of unadulterated art? I hope so, because it's always a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Definitely a lot of fun. So I just want to make sure. Okay. So I'm not seeing, so I'm still here, guys. You guys can still see me, so that's good. It's just I'm not seeing it on my computer, on my television screen here. Okay, so now we're good. We're ready to go. So going back is, we're just going to start with the light mixture make sure I have some in the airbrush, which I don't. I was painting all day today, and that basically, hey Brad, good to see you. How are you, my friend? Just gonna put some light mixture in my airbrush. Got sent home to further notice. Wow, John, that's something. Dos Equis, that's pretty good. That's good beer, actually. Yeah, all the schools are shut down and everything, I'll tell you. So now with the light mixture, what I'm going to do is, remember, you always want to get reacclimated with the painting with the light mixture. The reason being is you're not doing any real intricate or permanent decisions when you first start airbrushing. You want to get warmed up. So always get warmed up with the light mixture. Now, Wendy has a good question. Do I frisket her? I don't think so. And I want to show you guys in the image here. If we look here, you can see, let me just come over here, and you guys will see that if we see right here in the image we have here on Krita, everything is very soft edged, mind you. Nothing is very hard edged in the painting. So with that being said, so if we look at what's happening with this picture, let's go right here. You can see that everything is pretty soft edged. And even if we were to zoom out, I don't see any hard edges. The only place where I might be concerned would be right here. And let me just... So I would say right here, you see this area right here of dark. I would probably want to frisket the arm because we're going to get very dark. And what I'm afraid is that there's going to be some overspray over here. So we might just go ahead and the same thing here. Maybe just frisket these arms, just really covering them. Because if we look close, the edges aren't really hard. They're really soft over here. You have a little bit of a hard edge here. This is all very soft. And this is still very soft. So normally frisket is reserved for hard and soft edges. But like in this case, you'll see that it's probably best to frisket because we don't want overspray over here. So I might do just a little bit of frisket just for that. So good question, definitely a good question. So let's go back to the painting. And so what I want to do is, yeah, the news is really getting to us, huh? It really is. So we'll get through this, and and it just seems like there's always a special report. There's never a lack for special reports. So with the light mixture, I'm just going to reacclimate myself to her. And now when I'm painting, I'm doing little dagger strokes. And remember, when you want to have something gradated, you want to make sure that you're a good distance away. You don't want to be close because then it's going to be broken up and it's not going to be very smooth. So the further you go away, that's going to serve you the best. So you see, the further I'm away, it's much smoother. As I'm going, you want to make sure that this is dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shape this eyebrow here just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. And over here, it's a little dark, but then on the edge, there's this slight shape over here. It's lighter, but there's just this little shape, and it really, these little things really go a long way for the character of the pose, you know. Now her eye is very soft edged over here, so definitely what you want to do, you know, when you're painting the portrait, you want to first look at the lines and the shapes and then the values, and then after the values you want to look for the edges, whether they're hard or soft. That's going to be a real big difference, which is important. Now, with any airbrush, especially you know, when you're painting a lot, uh, I just will pull back the needle just a little bit like that, and what that does, it just frees it up a little bit. When you work in a lot of hours, you know, you put in a lot of hours in just painting with a certain airbrush, you'll tell when it's just not. It might be sticking just a little bit, and just a little adjustment like that really helps. You sort of become an airbrush whisperer, alright guys? Keeping the air on and just little dagger strokes. That's so important. That's for sure. As long as the art's still selling, we're in good shape, right, Steve? And that's, you know, full-time artists. We get paid by what we do. We don't have anyone, you know, we have to work. Well, you know, you guys all, you know, working out there, you know, I really appreciate you guys. And I'm glad that you're still getting paid. That makes me so happy, because the last thing I would want my friends to be, you know, stressed over money. So if you are getting paid in your home, God bless you. I am so happy. And that just means more time for painting, right, guys? That's exciting. So, Brad, more time for painting, and you know, everyone who's out there, you know, thank God, thank goodness that uh, you know, work on your art marketing, sell some of your stuff, and maybe one day soon you'll be able to do this full time. Nothing would make me happier. Now this is interesting. So remember, you want to make, when you're doing, like, let's say, adjusting some of, yes, you're going to paint, what color are you going to paint it, Brad? So when you're making any kind of drawing adjustments, you want to make sure that you do it with the pencil and not the airbrush. Light gray is perfect because that's going to be great for painting, a nice neutral gray. That's really going to help you. And, you know, this way the colors and the values will look, you know, right on the money when you're painting. You won't be deceived by simultaneous contrast. So, great decision on that. So right here, we have this coming out. So that means that this part of her cheek comes out further than I originally have it. So with that being said, I definitely have to adjust. You always want to have that critical analysis of your work and to adjust it on the fly, because it's very important. Yes, it was blue, that's for sure. I remember when we were doing our Skype classes. Not a bad color, by the way, but definitely light gray is so much better. So, you know, it's so cool. You know, it's horrible that we, as social people, are unable to you know, socialize as much with this whole crisis that's going on worldwide. But it's nice how we can still do that via live stream. That's really fantastic. So Steve says, Tim, does the light mixture have white in it? Does it cover the light of the paper, act as the lights in the work? Actually, it's always great to check out my part ones of these live streams, Steve. I have a whole bunch of them. So the light mixture is a very light value, and it's a total transparent, and it is no white mixed into it. But the lights are done with my white mixture. And my white mixture is basically Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white. And I use that through the airbrush to do the lightest lights. And so the light mixture is the light values. And then we go into the medium mixture for the midtones. And then the dark mixture for the dark accents. And Stephen, at the very end, we go ahead and use white pastel to finish up, which is pretty cool. It's a whole technique. It's a whole way of working, and it's really great because it really helps people to gain control of the airbrush and not have to worry about mediums and stuff like that. It's a much more intuitive, almost like drawing with the airbrush, which I love, and it's really great for you know, those who are beginning, and also those who are seasoned airbrush artists who just want to get their values correct. You know, it's always good to work out those muscles. So great question, Steve. Great question. Anyone know the best fluorescent bulbs to use? That's interesting. You know, I would not say. I use natural light bulbs, you know, bulbs that have natural light. That usually is, you can get them. I would check a lot. Oh, thanks, Steve. I definitely would do a lot of experiment. I go to Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff, and I get different kinds of bulbs and find out which one's the best lighting. And then once I find what has the best lighting, that is truest colors, then I buy a whole bunch of them. But yeah, the lighting is very important on what. But lighting is very important as to you know, your studio, because if you have, let's say, a yellowish lighting and you're painting, everything's going to come out purplish. So always remember that. So as you can see, I made a pretty big adjustment here, and you want to have that critical analysis of your work to make those big adjustments when needed. So now that I went ahead and did that, I could make my adjustments here. Also, there's some adjustments here. You'll see that this forehead shape comes out a bit more, like that. And this is the mono eraser, the mono 0 that I'm using. And like I said, when I want smooth gradations, you'll see that I'm a pretty good distance away from the work, from the surface. So the airbrush is pretty far away. So right over here I have this really beautiful soft edge. You'll see, also doing the 1 second rule, that I'm about 3 inches away from the surface. And that does two things. It gives me a smooth area to work with, smooth gradations, and light. So you can use the same value if you're closer to the airbrush. The airbrush is closer to the surface, the value is going to be darker. Further away, the value is going to be lighter. So I always want you guys to always remember that. That's so important. Oh, so John prefers LED lighting. Something next to real light, Wendy says. That's smart. That's exactly what you want. That's a real rabbit hole to go down. But definitely, I would get you know, those light bulbs that you know, like the LED light bulbs that have natural light, and just regular light bulbs, you know, for regular lamps. And I would just see which really works and just experiment. Or if someone has, you know, good suggestions that work for them, that would be good too. Certain LEDs do distort color, but depends because you have the yellow, you have the whole spectrum, and each brand is different. So it really is very slippery slope, that's for sure. 250 lumens works well. Now what I did is I have my solution are big video lamps that are very cold. So I like a very cool light because cool light to me gives the best temperature and keeps things from being too warm. And plus when you do video you need so much light. The brighter the light the better, my feelings are. So we're just going to continue with this shape here. Now what you want to do is you want to stick with the 1 second rule. And that doesn't mean you paint for 1 second and draw for 1 second, so you want to look for 1 second and then you want to paint for a second. If you're going to paint for 2 seconds, first you look for 2 seconds. That 1-to-1 ratio is going to keep you honest, and that's what you want to do. Now whatever I do on one side, remember I always have to do on the other side. Because otherwise you're not going to have that symmetrical feel. And you notice like keeping a good distance. Gloria, how's it going? Good to see you. So cool. So John says, Dree brightness sessions, that's good. Willie says he paints in the dark, it makes the work look bad. I'll tell you, painting in the dark, that would be definitely interesting. I'd probably end up painting the cat, you know? That's hilarious. So as you see, I developed this side, even though this side's very much in shadow. I want to basically keep that congruency of finish, you know. Now remember, when I do paint, I always want to make sure I keep my focal point one step ahead of everything else. But that doesn't mean that I ignore everything until one area is finished. To me, that's not how I was trained. How I was trained is to paint the ensemble. This way you make the painting look like it was done at one breath, one single breath. And it gives the work a spontaneity, and which is really nice, you know. Glow-in-the-dark Luminor. That's what they have at Coast Airbrush, I think. So as you see right now, I'm just pumping the trigger back and forth, keeping the air down. And I'm at a good distance. So when I'm at a good distance, maybe about 3 inches, you can see that it enables me to not have blotchy tones, that things are pretty smooth, which is very important. So right here, we have our hairline. Now this is very interesting because like I said, when you're painting, you're always going to be adjusting, you know? And so, like right here, you see her hairline. And then it goes down like this. And remember, as I said when I was showing you in Krita, it's not just painting, painting the forehead or something like that. It's the negative shapes that you really have to watch out for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Krita again, and we're just going to look at this together. And let's see if I can clear what I did off of here. Let's see. Control Z. Let's see how far I can get this. Sometimes you can't Control Z all the way, but it looks like I Control Z'd almost everything here. And so what I want to show you guys is that when you're doing stuff like hairline, you want to basically pay attention to a lot of different shapes, right? Not just the positive shapes, but the negative shapes as well. So let's go ahead and blow this up, blow her up. So right now you see that I am going to be painting this area right here. And there's like this little bit of negative shape that is really important that I want you to see. So if we look right here, there's this little bit of a hairline going like this. That is crucial. And same thing here. You know, this is very crucial to get when we're painting. So when you're working and you don't originally have it in your original drawing, it's very important to actually go ahead and put that in. So not only look for the positive shapes, but look for these little negative shapes that are really going to give you a clue. So if I go back to the airbrush painting, you'll see that's exactly what we're going to be conquering right now. So you see, that's why you really want to look hard and see that little bit of a hairline there. That's really going to go a long way into getting her character. So I hope that helps, and I'm gonna, hey Todd, how you doing? I'm gonna start incorporating the Krita, and just to, you know, help explain some of the things, some of the concepts that I'm working with, and hopefully, you know, it'll be more of a takeaway. So what do you guys think? You like that idea? Do you think it's effective? So good to see you, Todd. Todd's in San Diego, which is pretty cool. How's life in San Diego, Todd? Oh, okay. So Willie, you do like it. So you like the fact of showing you different things such as hard, soft edges with the, with the Photoshop type program. David, man, have a great night. Always good to see you, my friend. So, thank you for coming by. You have any questions, you let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them as always, David. Always great to see you. David's one of our regulars, so it's always a pleasure to see him. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, like I was saying earlier, we are we don't have the ability to, see our friends and family as easy as before in lieu of the recent current events. But it's great that we can still hang out here, right? And, take it easy and just have great conversations. So that's one of the things that was really important for me to make sure that I keep this as being consistent. Regardless of what's going on, I wanted to be a place where, you guys could be like, I know it's Wednesday. I know Tim's going to have his live stream. It's just sort of a given, I really like that. And I really want to have it consistent. And I also don't want to do too many live streams per week, because if you can't sustain it, if I can't sustain it, I don't want to do that. I want to definitely deliver with you guys knowing I'm going to be here every Wednesday night. There we go. And what you want to do is you want to erase as you go along when you don't need it anymore. Willie says, this is the only normal thing right now. That's good to hear, and this is what that means a lot to me, because I want to be that kind of normalcy, That's the reason for this channel. I would do this if I had to pay for it, honestly. I mean, I would do it regardless. It's a lot of fun. It's my social life too, Wendy. And I really appreciate you being here every Wednesday. You too, Willie, and everyone. All you guys who are new here, I'm just so flattered that you're spending your Wednesday evening or part of your Wednesday evening with me. It is a good normal, right, Brad? Definitely. It's a very good normal. And it's a very positive thing, because we're all here just hanging out. We talk about Gloria's cooking, and we talk about anything on the table, it's not just about art, it's about how you guys are doing, all that stuff. So it's not, a stuffy kind of place. It's just a easygoing place where, we want to hear from everyone and how everyone is doing. Talk about cake and coffee, which I'm going to get at the 10:30 mark. So I recommend you guys going to get some coffee at 10:30, and then we'll finish this up, for 11:30, which is really cool. So as you see, little by little, how about some chocolate cake? Yes, but not with chocolate icing. I think that's too much, right, Gloria? How about chocolate cake with strawberry icing? That sounds good. But knowing Gloria, she likes pineapple, I think. Am I correct in that you like pineapple, Gloria, if I recollect correctly? Gloria's making the coffee in the French press. No icing. Oh my God. That's cool. And as I said, guys, we want to be erasing as we go, right? So, but you don't want to erase prematurely, because you have the drawing underneath. So if you get rid of that drawing, you just basically got rid of your guidelines, and that's not good. And so Wendy says she makes her own. Oh, look at that. She has definitely write down that recipe. That might be a golden recipe right there. Maybe that's how we'll support we'll have bake sales to support the channel. That would be very cool. Now, this is important. So you have different erasers. You have the Mono Zero. You see that's for tight detail. Then you have the Nock 3.0. It's a little bit wider. and then you have the kneaded eraser. So that's your 3 thicknesses. So right here, I'm probably just going to use the knock because I don't need precision. I need to basically get that 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 shape correct, right? And then here, we want to make sure we don't want to beat the paper up. So you want to make sure that you are not over erasing and tearing up the paper, because when you over erase, you're going to tear up the eraser and you're not going to like the textural effects that are going to be inherent on the work no matter what you do because of the surface getting beat up. So I'm just going to lightly, I want to get rid of this pencil line, but I don't want to lighten the values. So in that case, you definitely want to use a kneaded eraser, and you can just lightly tap, and it's not going to affect the values, just the eraser. So Steve, one of the things that you want to do when you're using the ink is you want to erase as you go. And the great thing about working with inks, India inks, as opposed to other kind of inks, acrylic, Createx, is that the pencil lines erase so easily. And that's like probably one of the best things about, many good things about this medium, but one of the best things about spraying the airbrush with the India ink is the erasability. And that's why I also like to use the Createx, the Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, because out of all the whites out there, that's the one that erases as the India ink does. So they really complement each other fantastically, which is great. Oh, so okay, so looks like we're seeing if Gloria is married. So not no, Gloria's married. We're seeing if Wendy's married. So I know Gloria's married. Now Wendy is not married, so Wendy is single. Because I guess, making all those amazing chocolate cakes, probably would entice many a men to Wendy, which is cool. Is that true? The way to a man's heart is through his stomach? I'm wondering. Oh my God! So I think Willie is definitely interested in the culinary expertise of Wendy. So that's good to hear. But you see, when I do tight detail, I'm really super close. Hey, James, how's it going? It's good to see you. So James says that he paints on porcelain and sometimes has to use typewriter erasers to create fine lines and texture. Very cool, very cool. So definitely the consensus is the way to a man's heart is to his stomach. And what about someone like me who is always on a diet? you know? I'm always restricting my eating. Now, remember that we're constantly adjusting. You want to constantly have that critical analysis of your work. And so what we're going to do is right here, we definitely just see, looks like her eyelid, and then there's like a little crease, and then there's this part of her eyelid right here. So that is something that we definitely want to indicate. Now it looks like there's just a little slight little part, a little whisper of just that part of her eye there. I like it. I can barely see it, but if you ask me, I really like the way that looks. Sort of gives that even more of a, how do you say, more of an alluring mystery, I think, just to have a little bit of her eye that you can see, just a little bit, you know, and I want to accentuate that. Now, one of the ways, so let's say you have your reference, right? So this is yes, a sultry look, exactly. Wendy says, Tim's, your paintings are more exact than the photo. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, a smoothie. Yes, a smoothie and a nice green juice is definitely a way to my heart. That's for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a different way. Maybe I could accent that eye because I want information in that eye, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Krita. And I'm going to show you a way that maybe we can, oh, that's something we're working on. I'm working on this picture with Wendy. She's taking a class with me right now. So, okay, so we're going to go to Krita. Cary Grant, that's exactly, yes. So let's go here and let's see okay, so now we're showing up on Krita, which is good. Okay, so remember over here, I wanted to see more of this area. Well, you can do different things like lighten, and so I'm going to go ahead and see if I could lighten a certain area, and if we could just get a peek at her eye. So let's see, I'm going to hit Shift Alt G, and that gives us the lighten effect. And let's just change the value a little bit to maybe this here. And let's see if we can just maybe lighten this area to see if we can get that. And right now it looks like that's not the answer. Control Z. And let's see if there's another one where we can just soft light, maybe just lighten it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the opacity really low, and I'm going to blow this up and maybe darken just like that and see if we could get some sort of, so we're not getting more detail that way. This is something else I might want to try. Now you can always change the contrast or something like that. That's always something that you could look to do. And let's see if I could work on that right now. Let's see. Image. Let's go with enhance. Adjust. Okay. So basically you can work on that way, or you can do something else. So here's another way which we can probably find it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a separate program here, and what that's going to do is that's going to pull up my piece. So just bear with me 1 second, and I'm just going to open up that program. Let's see. And it should allow me to show this to you. This is important because when we want to enhance our photograph, I mean, we have that ability, right, to enhance the photograph to get exactly what we want. Okay, great. So give me 1 moment. I'm just going to add this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a source with this one. Okay, here we go, guys. So right now you see that, and let me go back to my program. So what I want to do is I want to change the contrast. So I'm going to go to Adjust, Brightness and Contrast. And then what I can do is I could lower the contrast, maybe change the brightness, try and get some of that detail that I seem to have lost. You know, I might not be able to get the detail, but I might. So it's always good to try. So let's see. It might not be successful. We might, you know, we might be able to do it. We might not. Or I could go ahead and try this. If I can find the original here, let's see. Okay, I think I can find it here in Documents, and I am going to go to Share X. And let's do screenshots. Let's see if this does it. Nope. Let's do that. And here. Let's see. Just looking for that original photo. So bear with me, guys. It's going to be worth it. Trust me. Okay, so here's the original photo. So maybe we can go ahead and adjust this. So let's try that. We'll go brightness and contrast. See if I could just try and get that eye. See where that eye is. Okay, you know, we tried. Sometimes you can look and, you know, lighten the contrast. But that's the thinking that I want you to do. I want you to look into stuff like that. So, although we were unsuccessful in getting that, that's the way I want you to try and, you know, get more information if you don't. So what I'm going to do in essence now is I am going to just go ahead and so what I'm going to do is basically just guesstimate where the eye would be, the pupil, and then I'll just make it a little bit lighter there. So as you can see, this is not exactly, I'm not painting exactly what's there. Remember, this is my painting. I can do anything, right? And you see this is all dark here. It's not showing a little bit of a pupil. So I'm going to make that up, do a guesstimate, and put that in. I really hope that helps, because I want you to see my thinking, you know, my mode of thinking, and you know, why I make those decisions as I do, you know? Well, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. And there's a beautiful cast shadow over here. And I do like the way the cast shadow sort of comes out and describes the form. Remember, a cast shadow is basically something like a form shadow basically goes around the other side. So if the light's coming from here, right? The light's coming from this direction, you're going to see the light hit it, and on this side there's going to be shade, so light and dark. However, when you have a cast shadow, is that here is the object, the light's coming from here, and it's casting a shadow on the shape. But what it does, it sort of wraps, it sort of goes around the shape like a blanket. So when you look at these cast shadows, they're basically going to follow the form. And that's when you look at something and it has a cast shadow like this, for some reason instinctively it really feels realistic. And that's something that you want your work to be instinctively realistic. So when someone's looking at your work, it's real to them. They don't really know why, but it's little subtle things like the way the cast shadow describes the form and makes the work a lot more three-dimensional, you know? Yes, like a veil, exactly. Uh, and I think if we were talking about the cast shadow, it sort of like drapes over it, the way like one of those protective sheets on a car, so that drapes over it, and you have the shape of the car. That's pretty much how a uh, a cast shadow reacts to form. You want to get rid of the pencil lines as you go, but you don't want to get rid of the pencil lines too fast, right? Because if you do, what's going to happen is you're going to lose, the clarity and the guidelines. So make sure that you're done with that cast shadow before you're done with those pencil lines before you erase them. Now, James says form retains luminosity while cast defines distance and depth. Yes, definitely. I agree. And paying attention to the nature of a cast shadow. All cast shadows are not created the same, but they do have similar properties, which are important. And just as you can see, little by little, I'm just moving around. I'm not like, I'm doing the 1 second rule. So whatever I put down, whatever I paint, like let's paint for 2 seconds. I've been looking for 2 seconds before I started painting. And that's what's going to keep you honest and keep you really in the game. Because if you don't do the 1 second rule, believe me, you're going to go off on some wicked tangents, and your work's going to be looking like somebody else, and you're really not paying attention to, you know, the important information. So I haven't been able to go to the gym for the last couple of days, and that's been driving me crazy. I have a pull-up bar that's coming. I ordered from Amazon, so I'll be doing pull-ups, and I'm doing a lot of push-ups. It's not easy. That's, I'm not complaining. It's just that, the gym was very important to me, and it's gone. And, it's not the worst sacrifice in the world, but I was enjoying my membership a lot. Mind you, my gym has a swimming pool and and has jacuzzi, and it's just a nice place, and it's nice to be around people who are really pushing their bodies. As I push my artwork, that's how I was pushing my body. So, yeah, we're all making sacrifices, right, guys? Not just me. And I know everyone here, they have a sauna, yes, sauna and steam room. They will. I think what they're going to do, they're not going to charge me for next month yet, but they're also going to make sure that time lost, they're going to add on to the next or change the billing cycle date or something like that. So that's cool, you know. Yeah, 24-hour fitness. Do they have them by you? Because that's a really great gym. And I got a great deal on it. And very, very inexpensive. Um, just fantastic. A lot of fun. Yes, they do have a big one, a big jacuzzi. Uh, Very beautiful. So I like going in there a lot. So with the teeth, I'm just making sure that I don't put in detail that I don't need to, because a lot of the detail is definitely what's around it, is more what's giving the detail. Wendy says she was a member of one that had a pool, sauna, hot tub, too far to drive every day. That's very important, is distance, because that will keep you going, right? If it's too far, there's too many excuses not to go. And it's just not convenient, right? Oh, Stephen got to run. Oh, so good to hang out with you, man. All this talk about cake has got him starving. It's good to see you, man. Stephen, thank you. And really, come back anytime. It's always great to talk to you. And I love the work you're doing. So cool. Bradley, good to see you. How are you, Bradley? Nice to see you. So Bradley's, working on different things. How's your artwork going there, Bradley? So sometimes I'll work from the computer with Pure Ref. Today, as you see, I'm working from a printout. Depends on my mood, Some days I'll go ahead and use Pure Ref, and some days I'll use a printout. It all depends on what my mood is. So you see, I'm doing a lot of how's Corona? Oh no, that's funny. And so basically, what we're going to do is we're going to move around. I see I'm spending a lot of time here, which is good. We're doing a lot of important information. But let's move around so we don't neglect some areas here. So you see, I'm just darkening that a little bit. And as you see, when I'm darkening just a little bit, normally when I'm painting, I'm here. But when I'm doing, let's say, the value change, which is a very light gray, I'm about 5 inches away from the surface, if you can see. So let's lift it up. So you see I'm about 5 inches from the surface. That does two things. First thing, it makes everything very, very gradated and smooth. And the second thing, it makes it very light so I can build up that value and not have to worry about getting too dark too soon. Remember, that's one of the mantras. Too dark too soon, too bad. So you want to make sure that you go dark, but you go dark really super slow. My proclivity is to go back here in this area, but I'm not, because I'm neglecting the other area. Remember, everybody, paint the ensemble. You don't want to just paint, you don't want to just continue painting one area to death when you're neglecting other areas. So be mindful of that. Same thing here. Look at that light value. It's way too light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the trigger, and I'm a good 6 inches away. And you see how I can just ever so slowly, I can darken that. And when I say darken, just bring it to a light, a very light middle value. Increasing my distance, which is really good. Oh, so they're at his school, Brad. I can see that. So Brad's a teacher, so he's off with pay. God bless you, Brad. That's really fantastic. So I'm glad. That's more artwork time for you, right, sir? So that's a very good thing. And thank God that, that there are things in place where people don't lose their livelihood because of this crisis that we're going through. So I'm happy. So I really like the way that eye is looking, that I decided just to show a little bit more that was in the reference. And I think it gives her a little more of expression, I think. That's just my opinion. Remember, it's your painting when you're working. You can make any changes that you want. No one can say otherwise. So I want you to really pay attention to what you're painting, but also make sure that you're not so stiff that you can't make changes, when you need to make a better painting, make a better work of art. Yes, I do feel bad for those with the salary who are losing that, definitely. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. Brad says a good call, so I appreciate that, my friend. And we can always darken that up, right? So it's not like it's the point of no return. So we're just going to go down that direction, and we're just going to go down that direction and see where that takes us. Now this is interesting. So right here we have a sort of a mid-tone here, right? So what I want to do is make sure that I sort of make this part dark here. This is a really super dark. Remember, everything's going to look dark right now only because everything around it is light, So that's important. Oh, so Gloria's going to do a wood duck in watercolor. That sounds pretty exciting. That's cool. That's really wild. And we're just going to pull this up and work on this dark. Now this is going to actually translate into a mid-tone when we go further, but right now it's looking pretty dark. Now here's a very beautiful shape I want you to see. So if we go back to Critter here, I want you to see this beautiful shape here, which we definitely want to explore. So right here we have several different shapes, right? And some of those shapes we really want to explore. So right here we have this shape here. Let me make it a little bit lighter. Right here we have this shape here. See that? That's one shape that we have. And then we have another value shape over here. And let's go down a little bit. And then we have this value shape right there. And then of course, just like that. Now you see you have these value shapes. So first you're going to go ahead and establish those shapes. But then after you establish those shapes, you want to establish the edge work, right? So it's not just the shape and the value, but it's also the edge work. So it's like a three-pronged attack. So you see, if we zoom in right here, Control Z, look at how from this shape to here, how super soft edge that is, right? Same thing, super soft edged over here. So those are things, and then right here, the edge is not soft, but what's making it soft is that value here and value here are so close to another. So all those different things. So you see it has a pretty strong border, but the values are so close to one another, and that makes it a soft edge. So that's something that I think is really good for us to really pay attention to. Not just paint as you go, but You want to really be thinking about this stuff. It's so important. No, Wendy's not old. No way, Jose. That's for sure. So what we're going to do is we are going to work on those edges as we were talking about before. So first thing we're going to do is find the shape. And that's the really dark shape right here. So we definitely are breaking down value shapes. Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then over here, we have this shape over here, which is a little bit lighter. And then we have this shape over here, which is lighter still. So it's really paying attention to those value shapes, which is really going to go a long way to getting that realism that you want. So we have the value shapes, and now we're going to work on those edges. See how this over here sort of just bleeds. And as I want to bleed, I'm going to increase my distance, and that's going to soften that edge up. And then when I want to tighten up an edge, I can go closer to the surface. And that's what I always mean and stress by painting in 3 dimensions. Oh, who's going? Gloria, you have a good night. Oh, so sorry you're leaving so soon. I hope you get a lot of good rest, and I hope to see you next week. It's always great to see Gloria. Gloria is one of our regulars, and always a pleasure, and the live streams would not be half as good, 1/10 as good if Gloria was not here. So Gloria, thank you always for being such a very important part of the live stream. You are amazing, but you know that, Gloria. I don't have to tell you how amazing you are. Gloria knows, right? So you see how we are developing those value changes there. And we are just going to really pay close attention to what's happening. Now, when we go in with the medium mixture and we start darkening, then things are going to start coming together, you know. So right now, we're still in the light mixture, and we're just getting relative value relationships. Okay, so we don't want to go too far with that, so let's move on to her arm here. Now her arm has a form shadow here. So we're going to do that 1 second rule, and we are going to look very hard and work hard to see exactly what's happening, okay? There we go. For the most part, I think we are, you know. Steve, how you doing? Congratulations with your new, which is so great, which is your new grandbaby. How cool is that? What a beautiful child. So that is such amazing news. So I rejoice in your happiness, my friend. So what we're doing is basically, oh, thanks. Steve says the piece of art already. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Little by little, she's coming together. I definitely appreciate that. So we made some brave artistic licenses decisions, which is pretty cool. Wendy says that we blink and it appears. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Now, I'm promising myself I'm not going to go back with the face, but you can see it's hard. I want to keep going back to it. So what we're really working on right now are our value shapes. So far we don't really have to do anything with freehand shields too much, and definitely not frisk it, because basically this is a very soft edge painting. I'm just going to work on some of these shapes here. So last night while I was painting, guess what I was watching? The Spy Who Shagged Me. The original one? No, Austin Powers, Man of Mystery. That's the first Austin Powers. And I'll tell you, it's just as funny as when I've seen it the first time. Just one of the few movies that make me laugh out loud. And if I want it darker, I go closer. If I want it lighter and fuzzier, I just increase my distance. So you see, that's how we definitely work on. So James says his student is here. He'll watch the rest later. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, James. And thank you for all your encouragement. And thank you for being a regular, James. We always look forward to talking to you. And we're going to be here next Wednesday, God willing. And we'll continue just having fun talking about art. And James, stay safe, and hope to see you next Wednesday. Okay, my friend? So cool. So very encouraged by the turnout today. So you see we have a hard edge coming down here, and then softens up as we come down here. So what I want you to see is the changes in edges, you know? And so I'm gonna just quickly go to Krita, and I'm gonna do that more with these live streams. And I'll tell you why, is because I want you guys to really see. So when you take my classes, you're gonna get this kind of instruction, which is very important. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And the program I use is a program called Krita, and why I love Krita so much is that it's free. It's open source software, so you don't have to pay for it. So this is what I want you to see right now. So if we're looking at the arm, we'll see that we have different edge shapes. So right here, you'll see that it's a little more harsh, a little harder here. Now hard edge means there's a difference between the borders here. It's real pronounced. And then it's hard edged over here as we go down the arm. And then you can see that the edge pretty much disappears right here. See that? I mean, it's real fuzzy. Even zooming in, you can see that it's real fuzzy. Whoops, I think you're just seeing, that's not what I want you to see. Let's go back here to this one. Yes. And I'm going to repeat that because that's not what I wanted to show you. So let's go back and we'll look at that again. So I'm going to Control Z this. We'll just Control Z this. And I'll repeat what I was saying. So right here you'll see when we're talking about shapes, right? This is a pretty pronounced shape here. It's pretty harsh, as I will move that away. you'll see, let's zoom in there. See how this is pretty hard edged here? You can pretty much see the shape and how they delineate. But then over here, all of a sudden everything gets real fuzzy, right? And so they're really not delineated edge. Same thing here, you have a strong edge here, right? And then all of a sudden the edge gets real nondescript and almost disappears. And that's working on edges on the outside, such as this cheek here. You see you have that hard edge over here, then it softens over there. Same thing on the inside. It's a little harder here. And then as we zoom down, move down, we'll zoom out, you'll see that it sort of gets real soft. And then gets a little bit harder over here. See, those are things I want you to see, that the edges are not just the contours like this, the obvious edge, but the edges will be these value shapes here. You see that? Those are the edges and the value shapes, and then the edges thereafter. So you see how this value is pretty much right there, and they sort of border. So this could be like the country of Chile over here, and maybe this could be New Jersey, you know. So I want you to see like the different shapes, and also not only that, the borders of those shapes and also the edges as well. Let's remove that if we can. One thing about Krita and most programs, they don't let you Control Z that far, so I gotta remember to do that. So let's go back. Okay, and we'll pull up the artwork once again. There we go. All right, so Control Z is undo, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the black screen is, you guys were seeing my Huion tablet. Okay, so we're making pretty good time here, and that's good. Yes, well this actually, right here, is that what you're meaning as far as bounce light, Wendy, right here? Because I think, now it could be bounce light, but I also think that it's sort of catching through the arm there. So you're seeing some of, but I think it is bounce light. I think you're right. On the arm, okay. Oh yes, right over here, the definite reflected light going on. Very good, good eye. Yes, I agree. So we're going to continue working on this arm here. So I wanted to show you how we really are going to not only paint those shapes, but those edges, you know? For that lighter value, as it turns, I'm going to actually be further away. So if you see, I'm pretty far away to get that value. Looks like I'm running out of ink. I get that feeling. Nope, I still have some in there. Just have to increase the, sometimes when the ink's not coming out, just means you have to increase. Make sure you don't have any tip dry, which you get very little of with this technique with the India ink, but also check and make sure that you're getting proper air pressure. Yeah, and I agree, Brad, definitely agree. Okay, let's go ahead and establish this beautiful dark over here. I think that's going to go a long way. Now, what's interesting is I see a little bit of light here, but you know, right here we have her neck. In my reference photo, there's like a little bit of a haze here, but I'm going to omit that because I don't think it lends to the structure of her forms. So, it's like there are times when you're going to add something like we did with the pupil of her eye on the right side. And there might be some things that you just will choose to get rid of because it doesn't really add anything to the strength of the painting. You're like a movie director. And when you're painting and composing a piece, you want to really be directing the eye and want to get that emotion that you want to get in the painting. I really love this sort of intermediate, not quite the beginning, not quite the middle part of the painting, because it's the nuts and bolts. This is really what is so important to watch as you're learning this technique, is the fact that we are constructing as we're going. We're making big decisions that are going to affect the painting in the very end, maybe episode 5. These decisions are going to be paramount in what the painting is going to look like down the line. Now, of course, I would love to go ahead and work on the lips and the teeth right now, but you can see why that would be counterproductive, because it will take away from painting the ensemble. And what we want to do is we want to get a whole value structure, so then we can start doing relationships and value relationships. And I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. Once we get all the values with the light mixture, start talking about value relationships and how that is so important. That's one of the reasons why I think at this point, if you have the ability to take my online class, because I talk about value relationships, and so not just say, okay, this is how you do the airbrush, but the why. Why are there reflected light? Why is there value disparity and edge disparity? Not just you have to have some hard edges and soft edges. That's like telling you how to get somewhere by bike and when you have a car. So you want the whole explanation, so you can really look when you're painting and say, that's exactly what I see now. So, and then you'll be able to teach other people, right? Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. No, I am not easy. Brad and Wendy can definitely attest that I'm not an easy teacher. But I give my all, 100%. And I can care less how the painting comes out. I just care about whether or not you guys are learning. Definitely, art is just as much creating as technical skills. Yes, I agree so much. Yeah, it's like having an easy players coach. Players coaches don't pull out, as far as sports, don't pull out the best of their players. And what I do as a teacher, because of my teachers, my job is to pull out the best of you, and that's, and sometimes that's not telling the student exactly what they want to hear. And, but it's so much better than just, pandering or something like that, right? You definitely want to. I had teachers and they were tough, but that's made me the artist I am today. Of how how hard I am on myself when I'm looking. That's why I do the 1 second rule, because my teacher was like, what are you doing? He'd come by and say, where's your mind? I won't be as harsh, but I will say, adhere to that 1 second rule, Cuddling doesn't work. Not in the classroom. Could work in other places, but definitely not in the classroom. Right, Brad? Well said. So as you can see, I'm still erasing as I go. and moving around. So the erasing as I go is really important because it sort of helps make the painting look better without those weird lines, right? But there definitely is a value difference. So one of the things I really want us to see as well are these value. You can't see it right here, but there are value disparity. Let's see if I can see it in Krita before I bring you there. I just want to make sure that it's there. No, it's pretty much missing in the reference, but in my reference I can see it, and I kind of like it there. So there's two ways I can go, right guys? I can maintain this edge, and that sort of shows off her anatomy by maintaining the edge here, or I can just bleed it out, right? And so I think it's important to show the disparity between the two, to show more of her form. And that's what I want to do. In this painting, I want to show more of her form. So Bradley says, oh, let's see what we have here. Wendy says cuddling does work, not coddling. And Wendy says that she got that eraser. Oh, that's a cool, oh, you got it. Cool, I know you ordered it. And but not the refills. Refills are easy to get. Bradley says that his 6th grade students say art this year is hard, but at the end of the semester when we discuss their portfolios, they see how far they go in one semester, and then they get why you inspire them, right? Is that the word? That's great. Yeah, me too. So that's great, Brad. So I can see you're a very good teacher, and you know, you want to. It's important. I think the most important thing for a teacher to pull out of any student is the best of that student. That's your job more than anything. Just to bring out the best, to you know, help them to exceed their own expectations. To me, that's the most important thing, and that's what I always look for in a student. I mean, in a teacher. When I was a young student in New York City in the 80s. Now, Todd says, Tim, what's the biggest size paper you have ever painted on? Well, I have, this is a painting. I paint on all sides. So 30 by 40, I work on board as well. Masonite panel. But as far, I would say 24 by 36 is probably the largest paper I worked on, which I do love working large, but I work small for you guys. And sort of in that mode of pruning my artwork to, you know, to, this last year has been like a real boot camp for me, you know, which is really important. Yeah, it's sad that they do not expose the kids to art in schools as much as they used to. That makes me sad and mad at the same time. Because, you know, there are some great talented artists who never will realize their potential and probably won't go into the field because they weren't exposed to it, which is really sad, you know? So as parents, I guess our job is to really plug in those gaps when we can. Well, I'm not a parent, but parents need to do that. And I know every good parent does. So you see, I'm opting Hockey, yes, definitely. That's for sure. The biggest canvas I ever was 38 by 40. That's a good size, yeah. That's like 3 feet by 4 feet almost, right? That's a good size. But you need a lot of room for that, right? That's definitely need, that's going to take up your studio. So there's this little part of her ear. And so, okay, so now we're going to figure out, like, where do we put that ear? How do we do that? We didn't project it, right? So this is a drawing lesson we're going to work on right now. So now what's Todd's question, Wendy, about how large? Yes, I worked 24 by 36 paper, and I worked 3 feet by 4 feet. So that, I think that was Todd's questions. Hey, what's up now? How's it going, Bill? Good to see you, my friend. How are you holding up? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to Critter real quick. Let's make sure that this works before we do it. Let's see. And we're going to go to Critter. And let's see how that looks so we don't have a... Okay, there we are. So we have Critter up. So I want to show you how I'm going to find that ear, that little bit of the ear. And, you know, it's not just airbrush, it's also drawing. It's also looking in this live stream. So let's go ahead and we'll just go there. Let me go up over here. Okay. So here we are. So here's the ear. And I'm just going to make this smaller. So how are we going to find that ear? So one of the ways that a lot of how they find cell towers, where I used to work in the cellular industry, and how they find out the nearest cell tower is something called triangulate. And what you can do is you can take different landmarks, like right here, you see you have that corner. And then we'll do another landmark, which say sort of where right here. And then we'll do another landmark, which will be right here. Okay, so here we are, right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to just sort of, this is the shape we want, but we want to find out where it is. So we're going to do a line like this. And that is going to be at, I would say at 11 o'clock. A line like this here. And I would say that's at 1 o'clock. And then a line like this. And I would say this is between 8 and 9 o'clock. So taking that information and also like where does it fall as far as how far away. And so you can see this is the edge here. So this is the triangulation that you want. To triangulate, I think the expression is. So I'm going to go back to my painting in just a quick moment. So you see how I can go from one to the other real fast to help you guys really bring home exactly what I'm teaching, you know? Yes, exactly. So remember the triangulation, you know, to triangulate, which was, if we look, so we're looking at, you know, approximately 8 o'clock here, just like that. And then from here, we're looking at about 1 o'clock, just like that. And then the other spot that we had, let's see, okay, was from the bottom of the nostril. And right there. And the other spot was, okay, right there at the cast shadow of the neck. And that was right here. So right here is pretty much where that ear is going to fall. So you see how we can definitely find it. And then once we do that, we want to make sure that our drawing, our assessment is correct. And looking at this here, when I pull from here straight across, it's pretty much right here. So just add a little adjustment there. We can always adjust this. You know, that's the great thing about you know, painting, is that you can always adjust, and especially when you're working with the light mixtures. And that's why, you know, never go too dark too early, because you're limiting your ability to make corrections. So you want to stay as light as long as you can. Just like that. And now what we can do is we can pretty much start going darker. And if we need to adjust that, we definitely can, because we're not going super dark just yet. And like I said, if we need to adjust that, we definitely can. Now look, everything is looking very light, but what's happening is that just because everything is so light around it, you know, that's what's really making that decision. Making us make that decision of, you know, thinking that everything's darker, but it's just everything around it is so light. And it's not even a shape of an ear, it's just a little light shape right there. And as you can see, this eraser right here is the Nock eraser. It's a 3.4. It's really beautiful. And 3.8. And it's by Mono. It's really good. It's nice and soft, you know, which is really, really fantastic. Well, I had this eraser for quite some time. I don't use it as much as I use it a lot more than I have in the past, because of its versatility in the early going of a painting. So that's why you'll see it more in the live streams, because I'm starting to utilize it a lot more. Okay, let's move this over. There we go. And now here it's soft edged. I think I need more ink, so I'm going to, you can sense when you just need a little more ink. There's still a little bit in the well, but you start feeling a little bit of a delay. So that's when you just want to put some more ink in there. So how is everyone coping with you know, the curfews or the suggested curfews, not going out? You know, how's everyone doing with that? Do you find, at first when this started, I had a hard time, and I was actually, you know, getting in the way of my creativity, because I was just watching the news 24/7. Did you guys have that same reaction at first? Did it get in the way of your creativity? We can use a little bit of the freehand shield here because I don't want to follow the contour. I really don't like that. What I like to do is do the perpendicular. So you see how perpendicular will create, you know, a much more unified value as we go out. Now right here, you can see that the edge of the background with her strap here is really disappears over here, and then it picks up over here. So I'm going to use a freehand shield here. There we go. It does, right? It does. Wendy says, what creativity? Bradley says he has a hard time getting ink to erase sometimes, even with his battery eraser. The trick is to stay with the light mixture as long as possible and to be very slow and deliberate. That really helps. And Willie says he can't watch news too much. It drives him nuts. Me too. And it does suck you in. There's always a special report every 10 seconds. And Brad says adversity only makes you stronger. He meets it head on without fear or objection. That's the best way to do it. Yeah. He definitely can learn from your example there, that's for sure. So, yeah, this is a worldwide thing, not just an American thing or a European thing. It's definitely, everyone's in the same boat, which is probably the first time that's ever happened where it's just a dilemma for everybody, no matter where you are. I have friends in Italy and Spain and, you know, all over, and Mexico, and everyone is having the same concerns, you know. Adversity makes Wendy scream. Adversity is a bitter pill sometimes to swallow. So you see, I wanted to maintain this edge right here. I'm going to wait till it dries and I'll show you. I'm just going to put a little bit of a reflected light right there. Silent screams, those are the worst, right? So Bill says he'd gladly give Brad a little bit of his. He's had enough. I know you've been through some rough times with your grandbaby. How is she doing, Bill? And I saw the video that she left the hospital. Is she still home, I hope and pray? Now what I'm going to do, she's home and she will get another lumbar puncture on Friday. Oh, poor baby. I'm glad she's home. Just sad that she has to have that treatment. So I'm just going to do, see how I'm just going to indicate that little bit of the reflected light, just a little bit right there. Just a little bit, because I want to show her neck as it goes up there. I just think it shows off her anatomy a little more, and that's why that's impossible. That's possible to, you know, change things. We don't have to do things exactly the way they are. We can change it to manipulate to make things look a little bit more like we feel they should. Oh, so you have another issue with that daughter also has a 7-year-old, and these they have, oh, something about baby formula. Oh my God, that's rough. Okay, so basically I want to keep moving around. See, I keep wanting to go into that area, and I have to force myself, guys. And so it says, so now you have another issue that your daughter also has a 7-month-old, and they have bought all the all the baby formula. That's horrible. Now that's really scary because I know that certain babies need certain baby formula. They can't have just any baby formula. So that's really rough. Perpendicular and not parallel, the 1-second rule. Those are two things that are going to go a long way to help you create a piece that is really good. And oh wow, that's really rough. Oh boy. Well, I hope things really change for the better, Bill. Good distance away. I'm just changing the value a little bit because it's a little bit darker but not much. There we go. So Bill's been sick for 2 weeks now. What kind of illness there, Bill? Oh, wow. You're self-quarantined. Oh, boy. Well, I hope it's not that, Bill. That's for sure. Uh, just hopefully it's just a regular old cold, and which I know it is, and you'll be fine in no time. So here we want to make sure we establish that dark over here. That's what I want to do. And get rid of some of those pencil lines. We're definitely ready to get rid of the pencil lines, and we don't have to use any of the finer erasers because we're making some broad erasing here. Not very tight spots here and there. So always remember that it's so important to not erase the hard work that you did. Just get rid of the superfluous pencil lines you don't need anymore. So important. So right now it's just basically mapping out some of the larger shapes, and little by little you just know you'll get there. So there we go. Same thing here. We definitely can get rid of some of these shapes, and some of the pencil lines are a little bit stronger. And as you see, when we're going light, Brad, it really does pay off to go light with the airbrush, and you can definitely erase it if you're staying light. So Brad, thank you so much, man. It's always great to see you. I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon, and looking forward to your next project. I know he's working on a new airbrush painting, which is exciting. So we're going to get rid of some of these pencil lines here. And what that's going to do is we can get rid of them, but very quickly when we get rid of them, we'll go back with the airbrush and make sure we go over those guidelines. Now once we, set up those guidelines, then we can do some erasing and make sure we'll know that we're not getting rid of anything important just yet. Even when you're erasing, you want to look for a second and erase for a second. This way you're not going off on a tangent, right? Same thing here. We have this really soft mid-tone right here, which is describing her sternocleidomastoid, which is a muscle that goes from the back of the ear all the way down to where the clavicle and the sternum meet, and that's why it's called the sternocleidomastoid. The mastoid process behind the ear, and that muscle goes from there and connects to the sternum and the clavicle on that insertion point. So always remember that. It's one of the most important muscles there are, and it really helps you to understand the whole thing, you know? Understand what's happening with the anatomy. So not just, you know, the whole mechanics and everything. So if you don't understand this sternocleidomastoid coming in over here, you're going to have a hard time understanding what's happening. And if, let's say, you put this like going over here or going over there, or this one's going straight down, she's definitely not going to look like she's anatomically functionable, because without that she would not be able to function in real life. I heard one person say when I was in art school, if your model, if she was to, like Pygmalion, step off the canvas or the paper, would she be able to walk around, or would she be a monster? So that's why anatomy is so important. And that's why having a working knowledge of anatomy is absolutely paramount. So you see, I'm going to sneak up there whenever I can to work on this interesting area, but I'm just going to make sure I concentrate on this area over here. Next week, or maybe in between, I'm going to go ahead and do the dark over here, and then we'll flesh out her arm a little bit on this side, because we're already at 11:22. But I think we're making good progress, and I think we're taking our time, and I'm changing. So are you guys happy with the way that the critter going back and showing you what I'm doing? Is that a good thing? Just, you know, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear. But it's something that I really think that as a teacher, it's so important for me to, you know, step back and show you guys exactly what I mean. Because, you know, a lot of times when you're painting, you know, you're just going at 90 miles an hour. So Wendy says she loves it. Thank you. So I appreciate that, and that's encouraging. And as long as it helps you. So Willie says yes, he thinks so. Some things, you know, might not resonate with you, so I'm glad you like it. And if you have any suggestions, I always appreciate it. Just shoot me an email. I'd love to hear any suggestions. Looks nice. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Todd. And so what we're going to do is, for the next couple of minutes, let's go ahead and see if we could start to work on her blouse here. Comes over here and then shoots at this angle like that. Remember, everything looks light. Everything looks dark because everything around it is light. So Bradley says, yes, beneficial to explain what you're seeing. Perfect. Okay, great. So I'm on the right track. And it's a new element, so I'll get better at it, and it'll be more part of, you know, more of a flow. It's still a new thing. Well, almost. Yes, right over here. So we don't really see too much of it, of her breasts here, of her boobie, as Wendy said. But we are catching just a glimpse. And then over here. There we go. So you see how I'm still. Hey, John, have a great night. It's good to see you. So that's so cool. So Todd says if you were airbrushing on poop, I would still say it looks good. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to say good night. Take care, and always a pleasure, Todd. Thank you for being a regular YouTube, John. So it's great to see you. Wendy is saying good night. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you'll hang around. So it's always great that to see you every week, Wendy. It's, always a pleasure. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting in some of the value in her arm. So as you can see, I'm a pretty good distance away when I'm doing those light values. See that? I'm really not close at all, probably about 5 inches away. And that's how I get those lights smooth. Good night, Will. Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Emil, great to see you. And you guys are also great. So it's 11:26. I always give you the full 2 hours, not 1 minute and 1 hour and 57 minutes. I might edit a couple of minutes out here and there, but as far as the live stream, I will stay to 11:30. It's important that I give my 100% to you guys. Staying at good distance away. That's funny. But notice, like, this is the end of part 2. So this is 4 straight hours of painting. We're still in a light mixture. We haven't gotten dark, yet we're making really good progress. But in saying that and making progress, we still have the ability to make changes. We're not too dark. If I was going to go too dark too early, I wouldn't be able to make some of those changes, and that would cause a problem. Because you don't want to paint yourself into a corner, and that's what you can do if you do go too dark too early. So what I want to make sure also as I'm working, I want to make sure that the arm that I have in my painting is as thick as the arm in my reference. So I don't want to make her arm too thin. And so I can see that I can definitely thicken out her arm over here. I can always come back in, but if I thin out her arm too much, I feel that's going to cause adverse problems trying to erase it. So we don't want that. So let's go ahead and adjust this contour here. I want her arm to be full. Because that arm is coming towards us. And that arm coming towards us, if it's too thin, it's going to look like her arm is like malnourished or something. And that's not what we want, right? Only drink Corona, don't get Corona. That's what Wendy says. 100%, that's so true. And yes, Corona's not bad. As far as the beer is concerned. So you see I'm staying a good distance away. It's very soft edge, so I'm just going to establish that edge with the airbrush alone. No freehand shields or anything like that. So as you can see, we have been able to establish a lot. We're going to, re-establish her hair, stuff like that. Tone, thank you so much. Bradley, Wendy, Willie and everyone out there, thank you so much. It's so great. And drink margaritas. How about straight tequila? That sounds good. So here we are. End of part 2. Part 3 is coming up. And I think we made a lot of good progress. We're not in any rush. And for the Patreon, I'm going to do a video this week showing a little more detail on this, and that's special to my Patreon people. And if you go, you definitely can become a Patreon member, and if you do that, it's only $4.99 a week, and you just get extra lessons every single week, which is really good. As on after this, hey, what's up, William? Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. So I'm so glad you guys are here, and so thank you very much. And let's see. Okay, guys. Well, you have a great night, and thank you for spending time with me today. Take care, guys.